All right. Hi, Erika. So thank you for coming to the podcast. Let's get right into this.
Okay.
So what led you to start a business in the trucking and transportation? Or tell me a little bit of story of how this business got started.
So I guess you could say I've been in the transportation business my entire life. My uncle owned a Peterbilt and International dealership here locally. My father was a salesman of Peterbilt and International trucks for 45 years. So I kind of just fell into the family business, I guess you could say. Um, when I graduated high school, shortly after I graduated high school, my cousin, whose father owned the dealership, had done a spinoff into the insurance industry for trucking. And um, I graduated in high school in 1992. In 93, she's like, hey, why don't you come work for me? And so I jumped at the chance because I really didn't know what I wanted to do after I graduated. And I jumped at the chance and started my way up from answering the telephones to being a full blown trucking insurance agent. And so I've had my license now for 30 years, and I've been specializing in just trucking insurance and transportation, nothing else. And I she eventually sold the agency, and I went out on my own in 2015 and started my own services business to help guide independents that wanted to go in under their own authority. And I helped them start their business up from beginning to end and get them the insurance coverage that they need. So not only do I own Wilson Transportation Services, but I am also a licensed agent for goods insurance. And that's all we do is specializes in trucking insurance.
Okay, because I got introduced to you through Jessica.
Yeah.
She said that I did not know that you did insurance or that you were part of goods insurance, which makes
Yep.
sense. But
Yep.
she basically builds you as the DOT and MC authority guru, the master.
I've made it really my passion to, I want to understand everything that my customers have to deal with. And I want to be able to offer them solutions, advice. And that comes with experience too. And it's just so happens that I just really enjoy learning about the DOT and the compliance side of things. And it's just it just works out that I can be their one-stop person. When they have a question about anything, I'm pretty much can find the answer for them.
Right. So I'm looking at your website right now. And it says you got a bunch of service like DOT, Motor Carrier Authority, process agents for BLC, fuel tax, all this stuff. That's a lot more than what a normal insurance agent. Tell me a little bit about that. Tell me about like all the things that you do and can do and will do, and maybe some of the things you won't do.
Right. I do, as soon as that customer has that twinkle in his eye, I guess you could say, about he's wanting to get into the business of either trucking or household goods or anything, then I just take it from there. I field all of their interests and what they plan on hauling and what they, their long-term goals. And then I just make it an easy and an affordable way to help them start in business. I will do their LLC, get them their tax ID number. We'll do their DOT, Motor Carrier Authority. In most of the surrounding states, I'll also do their tag work. So I'll get them their apportioned tags. I will do their insurance too. So we pretty much do everything to make them legal and to keep them legal throughout the year. We will help them. We'll get them their IFTA account. We'll do their quarterly fuel taxes. If they are Maryland, I'll even go to the MVA once a week and title, a dozen different trucks or tractors for my customers that are new or they're adding to their fleet or what have you. We just build a great relationship where I'm that person that they call and say, hey, I need this done. Can you get it done? And yeah, we'll get it done, and we'll get it done quick.
Yeah, that's amazing, because especially with new and small moving companies, guys who are, they're coming up the ranks. They might have just started with a labor company and are getting that itch to, start a full service moving company. sometimes they think, oh, I got a DOT number, so I'm licensed, I'm good to go. And that's not true, right?
No, it's not at all. It can be, I totally get when truckers and moving companies tell me that the process in setting up a DOT number and a motor carrier number is a little overwhelming. It is. There's questions that FMCSA asks of these guys that can be very misleading, and they think that they're answering it correctly based on their own experience, and it's wrong, and it ends up having to be fixed after the fact. So there's a lot to the whole process of getting established as a business where you need a DOT number and a motor carrier number. So it's important, that there's a lot of companies like myself out there. I know that, but it's important to align yourself with someone that's there to really not just take your money and run, but there to really educate, the customer, to make sure that they know what they're getting, they understand it, because, when all's well and over with, DOT is looking to that business for answers and not me. So, I find it very important to not only help them get everything processed and quickly and get them on the road, but to also educate them, because this is their business. This is their livelihood. They need to know what all this stuff means.
Now, I went to Goods Insurance Agency, and there's none of this stuff here on their website that they do these services. Is this something that you provide outside of Goods?
It is. This is strictly my business. Wilson Transportation is solely owned by Erika Wilson. And then I am actually an employee of Goods Insurance myself. So I'm a very busy person. I do work like 14, 15 hours a day, just about, juggling both insurance sales and then all of the services that Wilson Transportation offers. I do have one employee, and she's actually works for me remotely out of South Dakota. She lived here in Maryland. Her husband's a trucker, and they decided after many years of traveling out west that's where he wanted to end up. So that's where they ended up in February. And so it's worked out great, her working remotely, but she handles a lot of the processing for me. She's wonderful, and we get the job done, the two of us. We're just about at, I'd say, close to 1,000 customers that we regularly take care of. And they range. My farthest customer is Arizona, actually, where I do their tags and IFTA and insurance. And so it's
nice.
Yeah.
So now, Jessica told me Goods, they're only able to operate in like 32 states, but you, as the Wilson Transportation, you can operate in basically any territory or any state in the country.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely. I can help anybody set up a business in any state, actually. The only thing I will limit myself on is tag work, obviously, for logistical reasons. Sometimes it requires an appointment for the customer to go to the MVA and get tags. I can't, physically do that. So, but here in the Mid-Atlantic states, I can pretty much do everything. But, as far as in other states, it's no problem at all. I've gone as north as Massachusetts, and as south as Florida, and out west is Arizona. So I can go wherever and help anybody set up their business and guide them in the right direction.
Excellent. So let's talk about some of your influencers and mentorships. Is there anybody in your life that provides like a mentorship role, or a kind of a role model, or somebody even in the past that kind of guided you along this path to be successful and to be service orientated?
Yeah, I don't know if you can see that guy right there.
Yeah, handsome feller.
Yeah, that's my dad. He passed away in 2013 of lymphoma, but he hands down has always been my biggest influencer and role model in this industry. His passion with sales, as far as being very honest with his customers, is really something that I strive for too. I mean, I had a customer, we had a mutual customer one time tell me, he said, Erika, your father actually undersold a truck to me. He said, because he just wanted to be so, so descriptive of everything that was wrong with the truck, that he wanted this man to know exactly what he was getting himself into. He said, so, that goes a long way. Those types of relationships that he had with his customers is definitely what I always want to have with mine. And I feel like I do. I mean, a lot of we trust each other 100%. It's a partnership. I mean, they're confiding in very personal information to me about their business, and I take that very seriously. And, if you ask any of my customers, they're going to tell you that I am in it to win it with them. And, and it's just making sure that they stay legal and compliant and in business for a long time. Because I'm always thinking my guys will call me and they'll give me examples of things. I'll say, I'm not looking at this right. Not only am I looking at your situation right now, but I'm also looking 10 years from now. And I want to make sure that you're not making choices that are going to cause problems 10 years down the road from now. So my dad totally, and his honesty with his relationships with his customers has hands down been my biggest role model in this business.
Excellent. Thank you. So what keeps you motivated? What keeps you coming into the store every day and continuing doing this? What gets you through the tough times?
These guys right here, my truckers, my customers. I take such pride in their business. I sometimes probably am more prideful of their business than they are some days, but I really am. I get, I'm out when I go out and I travel in the roads, and I can see one of my customers coming down the road, but I can see the front of their truck and I know who they are before they even pass by me. And that to me means a whole lot. I mean, they're what makes me want to get up every morning and do what I need to do to help them keep their wheels moving. Always.
All right. Great.
It sounds cheesy, but honestly, it really is.
Right. So, what is your unique? I mean, I think we've already discussed it, but let's actually really nail it down. What is your unique selling position for Wilson Transportation Services? What makes you stand out? What sets you apart from somebody in the industry?
My knowledge and experience. There's not much that I don't forget. And I can, the fact that they can call me and ask me from, my experience with setting up their business with the state, to a DOT related compliance question, to a tag question, to an insurance question. I got it. Mm-hmm. I'm there to help. They just can call me and say, hey, so-and-so said I need this. Do I need this? No. So that's that. It's simple. And the fact that they have that resource in me is what keeps the referrals coming in, honestly.
All right, cool. How do you build and maintain a strong client relationship?
Communication, I think that goes both ways. I have a lot of, for the most part, the customers that communicate with me often and keep me abreast of what they're doing at their business helps me help them better. I have customers that, sometimes they'll just disappear for long periods of time, and then they'll come back with nothing but problems. And it's, what do you want me to do with that? So as long as we're in it together and keeping communication, that partnership, and that the longevity of that relationship is years and years and years. I mean, I've had customers that, I've been, like I said, I've been in this since 1993. And, when I left the previous agency due to a non-compete, some of that relationship kind of went away. But my longest standing customer is 30 years old. And, as soon as my non-compete was over, he was back in my door. And that says something, 30 years is a long time and he trusts me and I trust him, and you can't, that's huge.
Right. Now, please don't take offense by this thing. I'm sure. Just really trying to get things. You said you have 1,000 customers, which that's a lot of customers. That's mm-hmm. a lot of clients that you're dealing with day in and day out. You say you are the one-man band. You have a remote virtual assistant in South Dakota. So it's just basically you and one person who works remotely. How do you maintain a good relationship with that. I mean, your phone must be ringing off the hook.
It is. It is. I have three phone lines coming into my office. I have my insurance phone line, my cell phone, and my landline. She has phone calls. Some days I'll forward calls to her so I can just get stuff done. But it's hard. It is hard. I mean, it's a lot to juggle, but I'm juggling it a lot. I mean, I do. I work from about 7 a.m. to 11 o'clock every single day. And it's, I'm all about whatever the task is that's been given to me is to be as efficient as possible. We have, scanners and our systems are able to keep track of when things expire for our customers so we can reach out to them, 90 days ahead of time. So we try to plan things out so we're keeping things continually organized and moving, having a good flow with our work rather than everything being a huge fire. That's when things start to get very chaotic. But yeah, for the most part, we have the system down. I mean, we have, I even surprise myself sometimes when I get at the end of the year and I'm like, holy moly, what just happened the past 365 days when I look at the numbers? But I mean, we've processed over millions of dollars with the Maryland Motor Vehicle Administration and tags. So that's a lot. That's a lot of organization and process. But we keep it straight, and our phone is ringing off the hook, and I love it. But we just get it done.
Are you planning on bringing in any kind of? Sorry, I'm putting my slippers on. My toes are getting cold. I'm in a cold state like you. I'm in Michigan, so please pardon. Are you planning on bringing in like some account managers or any kind of administration? I mean, you can't scale this business or get any bigger if it's just going to be you.
No, we will. I probably will eventually. I think I will definitely have to at some point bring someone in, but training for what we do at Wilson Transportation Services is hard. And for me to find the time to allocate the extra time into training someone is going to be hard too. So, I'll have to have at some point I'll figure it out where I'll need to balance out both and be able to give myself time to help train someone. But until then, we're just going to keep rocking and rolling and getting stuff done.
Cool. All right. So how's your business strategy evolved over the long term? I mean, you started the business when again? Remind me.
I went out on my own in 2015.
Okay. That's what, 10 years nearly?
Yeah.
9 years. I mean, the industry has changed. It is, built up. There's a lot of different things you could have done back then, but you just can't get away with now. How do you account for that? How have you evolved for that?
I'm not following you though. What do you mean as far as?
Well,
give me an example.
That's a good question. I don't have an example on my top of my head. Let's cut across that.
Okay.
We'll go over that and we'll think about that and mull that over here. Okay. Give me a little bit of an idea of your day-to-day typical day at Wilson Transportations. What is it? Give me how does the day start? How does it end? Kind of give me an idea. A typical day for you.
So a typical day for me is working on first and foremost what is coming in originally and handling any fires that come at me quick. Fires meaning, on the insurance end where we've got claims or accidents and they're needing help, or I've got a guy that's getting ready to go through a state that needs a permit and we need to take care of that right away. Things like that require my immediate attention. So we're doing those. I will, depending on where in the time frame of where I have start with a customer that's starting in business, has gone and bought his truck and he's, either I've gotten his LLC and now I'm going to need to move on to the title and tag work or the insurance work. So it's all, it's all just coming at us all day long in different segments. I could have a gentleman that has been late on his fuel taxes for the past 2 quarters, and now all of a sudden he drops it in my office, and I got to hurry up and get it filed so he's not any later than he was. So there's if you can imagine a busy trucking company with over 300 trucks, that's what it's like in here. I mean, it's, just coming at me all day and every day. Um, you know, I'm answering just general questions from people, calling and saying, "Hey, I want to go get my CDL, and do you know where I can go, or can you recommend someone? Or I've bought a new truck, can you get the tags for it?" So it's like that all day, every day. So it's always jumping around here. There's not really any quiet days.
Right. Now, Richard Smith has got a question. He goes, do you do consulting work for those who's like me, just starting a moving company?
Yeah. As far as when it comes to DOT and authority and, business formation and insurance, yeah, absolutely. I actually will refer you to Jessica in my office for the insurance part, because she's my household goods moving insurance expert. I'm more on the trucking side, but when it comes to the DOT compliance side, yeah, I can help you with all of that. And you'll find too that I'm not on the Wilson Transportation Services side. Again, I'm there just to help you, and I of course I do charge a fee for my services, but my fees are very reasonable. We work because it's kind of a partnership, and I'm not a one and done. I'm not going to make thousands of dollars off of you off your first thing. I want to be able to help you, over the course of the years that you're in business.
Right. You're not somebody. Okay, you're done. I got you insured.
Right. Then leave me alone.
Yeah. Okay. Good. I'll talk to you in a year when you need me again.
Right. No. Yeah. I want to help you and guide you. I want to see your business succeed, and I want to be that person that give you the right answers and the correct answers the first time.
Right. Now, we mentioned earlier you operate in every part of the state, so you can help somebody get DOT'd and MC'd and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
Someone in Northern Virginia, even.
Absolutely. Yep. I've got plenty of guys in Virginia. Yep. Help them all the time. Virginia, anywhere.
Excellent. I want to get into the meat of it. I mean, I got a lot more questions for you about your business and your entrepreneurial spirit, but I got people who are on this video and they want to learn about how to get DOT numbers, how to get MC numbers, and everything that goes in that's involved with that. So let's take a hard break there. We'll come back to that a little bit later, but let's get going. So I'm a moving labor guy. I mean, whatever state it is, you can be in any state with you. What is the very first thing that I should do even before I get a DOT number?
Get an insurance quote. No matter what, the first thing you need to do is get an insurance quote. That's what I tell everybody, because that other than the purchase of the vehicle, the insurance coverage is going to be probably your second most expensive expense. So insurance agents do not need a DOT number and an MC number to get you a hypothetical insurance quote. It doesn't have to be, stamped in blood as far as what the price is, but just an estimate on what your cost is going to be. You should, by the time you've considered starting up your business, you should have some idea of how much money you're going to spend on a truck, whether you're going to own it, whether you're going to lease it, or what you're going to do. When you have that information, we can take that hypothetical information and get some pretty firm numbers for you. A range, if we have to, worst case versus best case. And then that's really going to be the deciding factor, because I've seen insurance quotes, especially on household good movers, go from very affordable to ridiculous in the blink of an eye. And, even if the number, and I've told guys this before, that where the quotes have come in and they're just astronomical, whether you have violations or you have accidents on your record, you have bad credit, things that are impacting your rate, where you're going to be garaging the truck, all of those have an impact on your insurance premium as a household goods mover or in a trucking business. But maybe this year's not your time. Just wait a couple more years. Rates for insurance change constantly, every 6 months, 9 months, a year. They change constantly. So even though it may not be affordable for you right now, just give it a couple years. It doesn't mean that we're not killing your dreams. It's just like, well, pump the brakes on it for a second. But that is definitely the first thing you need to do is get your insurance quote.
Okay. Now, okay, I got my insurance quote now. Now,
Okay. You're good.
awesome.
You're ready. It's
Now,
affordable.
what's the next step?
You need to determine your business structure. Do you want to be a sole proprietor? Do you want to be an LLC, or would you rather be a corporation? That's really the next step in all of this, because we want to get your business established with the state, and then we want to get you your federal tax ID number.
Okay. So, I mean, I don't think personally, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think a company that's making less than $300,000 to $500,000 a year, a moving company, should be worrying about an S corp or C corp. I think that just a regular LLC is a sufficient. Is that something you would agree with?
Yeah, I tell everybody, I'm like, I don't know what you own. I don't know what your assets are or anything like that. I've always said, if you have a lot of assets and you're worried about protecting them, then I strongly suggest that you reach out to an attorney that specializes in that and let them guide you in the best direction on which way you should go as far as starting up your business. But if it's a one-man guy, doesn't have anything, he just wants to jump in and start his own business, then I tell him, I can only give you experience based on my own experience. I'm an LLC. My business is an LLC. And I know that the benefits of that as a business, and that's where they usually lean toward the LLC route. You want your business to eventually be able to stand on its own and be able to go out and buy things in the business name. So you're not personally attached to all of it. And an LLC is a great way to do that. And it doesn't take long. And that business has developed its own credit where it can go buy stuff. And then that way your name's not attached to all of that.
Excellent. All right. So we got the insurance quote. We figured out the entity that we're going to probably doing. Are we up to the point of getting a DOT number yet?
We are. Yep. We got the tax ID number. Your LLC's been approved. Let's get you a DOT number and an MC number. There's the federal level, which is the DOT number and the MC number. And then there's also a state level too. So we do have to do a little bit of research on your individual state on what's required with household goods movers. But for the most part, with the federal level is what we're going to gear up first. And that's going to be your DOT number, your motor carrier number, and everything else that goes along with those two main things to make you legal. That's going to be, the process agents, the BOC3 form that's needed. That's going to be the unified carrier registration that's required every year. And then any state permits, you're going to be able to tell me, here's the states I'm going to operate in. And if there's any additional state permits that we have to get for you, we're going to go ahead and start filing for them as well at that time. The whole process with getting your motor carrier authority as a household goods mover is 21 days from beginning to end. And as long as you can get your truck and the insurance and everything else lined up within your tags, you'll be ready to start hauling within 21 days.
Nice. Now, a DOT, anybody with a pulse can get a DOT number, correct?
Yeah, they can, absolutely. To get a DOT number online with FMCSA is free. The DOT number is free. The motor carrier number is $300. To be a household goods mover, there's different types of authority. There's household goods moving authority and there's property authority. So you definitely want to make sure that you apply for the correct authority. Mm-hmm. If you want to be able to have both, like if you're doing the household goods moving, but then you also want to haul freight for brokers or shippers, then you have to have property and you have to pay a $300 fee for each type of authority. So
yeah, that brings up another question. Sorry to cut you off there.
That's okay.
I've got some people and they're like, and I've told them, and maybe incorrectly, but I'm like, you need it. If you're got authority for a mover, does not necessarily mean you have authority to do freight or junk hauling or whatever it is.
You're right.
You have to go get another set of authority for those individual aspects. You can't use your DOT number and MPC number to haul junk across the state lines or whatever.
No.
Right? You got to
Household
get.
goods, yeah, household goods moving authority, motor carrier authority is just for the household goods industry. It does not allow you to go on the load board and haul a load of lumber for a broker or shipper. You have to be able to have, that's general property. So you would have to have property authority for that.
Right. Yeah. It's I get that. I've gotten that question so many times. I'm like, no, they go, yeah, I'm doing junk hauling and or I'm doing freight, and I'm like, okay, good. Do you got a DOT number for that? And they're like, no, I'm using my my household goods. And I'm like, you're not doing it legally, buddy. You're
Right. I have guys,
technically.
right. I have the trucking guys that then want to go and haul a load of household goods. I'm like, no, you can't. You don't have authority. You don't have filed tariff. There's like a whole nother world to household goods. No, 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 no. So it's, yeah. And I even have guys that haul general property that want to haul hazmat. And I'm like, you can't. So hold on. So you have to narrow down what, you can add to it later on, but yeah, you have to make sure that you're choosing the correct authority, and FMCSA does charge a $300 fee for each type of authority.
Right. Now, what is the difference between a DOT and motor carrier authority?
So the US DOT is what's required for anybody that owns a commercial vehicle over 10,001 pounds that's using it for business purposes, making revenue off of the use of the vehicle. So 10,001 pounds, over 10,001 pounds and used for business purposes requires a US DOT number. The motor carrier authority is really authority to allow you to haul what you're hauling across state lines. You can have a US DOT number. This is I'm switching over to the trucking world a little bit, but you could have a US DOT number and haul exempt freight and not need a motor carrier number. That's for like the grain haulers, that hauling exempt goods. They don't need an MC number to haul that stuff. But household goods, anything that's been manufactured or processed, and FMCSA has a whole list of commodities that they kind of break it down as far as whether it's exempt or not exempt. So all non-exempt freight requires a motor carrier authority to haul it across state lines.
Right. So if they want to move somebody from New York to California, LA, they have to have an MC number.
Correct.
Now, do they need to have authority to work in California if they're dropping off, or do they only need it if they're going to pick up something from California and bring it back?
I don't know off the top of my head what the rules are for California itself. But if you're transporting any freight into California, you have to have the proper and motor carrier authority to do that, regardless of where you're coming from. Every state, see, and that's what I was talking about, where I would have to, when I'm talking to a new customer and anybody that's considering it, depending on the state they're in, is really look into their state and what those requirements are as far as what's needed to haul it within the borders of that state as well. So, there are some states that don't have what's called intrastate authority. There's some states that are. So it's really just doing the research on that particular state to determine whether or not if they need any additional authority to haul in that. I've recently had, for instance, Pennsylvania is the one that I can think off the top of my head, Jay, but they have PUC authority, which is intrastate in the state of Pennsylvania. You cannot be a household good mover and move people within the borders of Pennsylvania without PUC authority. I actually had one get in trouble for doing it, where they actually did a sting on him and said, you do it again and you're going to jail. So it's a big deal. Florida, I know, requires different licenses in order to haul within the borders of Florida as well. So it's really doing the research on the state. And if I'm helping you, then I'm going to do the research too. So I'm make sure that you're good in each state.
Right. I was going to come up about the state, because even in Michigan, we've got what used to be called, I forget what it was, but now it's the CVED, Commission of Vehicle Enforcement Division or something.
Commercial Vehicle Enforcement Division. Yeah, we have that in Maryland too.
Right. So we've got that now. But so Michigan has it. I know that I think the majority of states, I think the only states that I know of that really doesn't have it are probably like Texas, I know doesn't have it. And I think some of the northern, like Montana or something like that, where if you got a DOT number,
free for all.
You're good.
Right. Yeah.
Just be insured, and we're okay with it. But that's it. But what I was asking for now, because this has come up with in my consultancy with my movers, is because someone apparently said that they had gotten in trouble one time where they dropped off a load in another state, from one state to another. They dropped off a load, but then they were hired from that state to pick up something and bring it back to their original state. And because they didn't have that state's authority, they got in trouble and got a massive ticket.
So they picked up a load that had only been halfway delivered.
No. So they delivered somebody that they moved somebody from one state. We're just going to say hypothetically from New York to California. They took the person from New York to California, dropped them off. They got a new load from a totally different customer in California to bring back to New York.
That's okay. There shouldn't be an issue with that unless they were required to have, as a household good movers, they did. Yeah, I don't see what the issue is with that. They're a New York-based company.
Right.
Yeah.
I can't remember the actual state, but it was basically they didn't have state authority to operate legally in that state, so they couldn't legally promote or get a job. In fact, so basically they had to. They were supposed to, on the legal side per that state, deadhead back or something like that.
Oh wow, no, I honestly have not heard of that. And I'd be willing to when something like that comes up. I mean, it's definitely, we have to really research into all of that and challenge it. Just figure it all out, because that doesn't sound. If I think of it from on the trucking side of things, that's completely 100% allowed. I don't know if there's California has any weird things when it comes to household good movers. Every state always had, and California would be that state. New
York, California, Pennsylvania, Kentucky. Yep.
California don't want anything to do with anybody with the truck. So
Illinois. Sure. Yeah, there's some nasty states out there.
There are. Gosh.
Yeah. They and then they wonder why everybody's leaving California.
Yep, it's awful.
All right. Enough of that. Don't get into it, Jay. All right, so good. So we've got our DOT authority. Now we don't need a motor carrier authority to operate in our state. If we don't plan to go across the state lines, we don't need motor carrier authority.
That's correct. You may need intra-state authority, depending on your state, but you will not need a motor carrier number if you're not crossing state lines.
Right. So that is something you don't necessarily have to get right now.
Right.
If that's not what you're planning to do.
Correct.
So if you don't have that $300 and you're still going to need insurance. So that's either here nor there. But you don't need necessarily to pay that $300 to go get your freight MC or your household good authority, etc.
Right. And I have noticed too, and sometimes with insurance, that if you choose, when you're starting out, if you don't have the need to cross state lines, sometimes the insurance premium is cheaper if you don't need that federal filing for motor carrier authority. So if you're just trying to figure this out and you're trying to avoid a little bit of expense, maybe it is better for you to stay in state for a little while. And then after you've developed a little bit of tenure and business experience and you want to then start to go out of state, and you can, you have the revenue now to kind of offset the increase in insurance, you can do that too. It's just an option. But
Right.
I have noticed that sometimes it is cheaper if you don't need that federal filing.
Amazing. Yeah. I never thought of that because I've always just went and got my MPs because I knew I was going to do long hauls and I just did it. And I already talked to Jessica about the insurance. So folks, if you want to know more about the insurance side of this, go see my, go to my podcast with Jessica Marie Sharp of Goods Insurance, where she goes over the entire method of how to get insurance for every aspect of it. It's right here on my YouTube channel. If you want to see the entire thing, you do have to be a member of the YouTube channel to do it at a veteran level or higher to be able to see the full 2-hour or nearly 3-hour podcast. So go and check that out.
Yeah, she's amazing. She's very thorough when it comes to insurance, and she really she takes it all very seriously. So,
all right, good. So let's I mean, we were looking about the legal authority and what legal authority does. Tell me, now that we've got our authority, we've got our insurance. Jessica didn't really speak about that, and I forgot to ask, but you knowing a little bit on insurance, what is the E&I forms, and why do we have to send those in?
You mean the certificates?
I and H forms, I'm sorry.
The certificates of insurance?
No, the insurance agent has to send in
the Form E and Form H.
Yes.
Okay, so there's several different filings that come along with household goods moving, a little bit more with household goods than just trucking. So there's several forms. There's the, and this is again why you really, really have to align yourself with people in this industry that know what they're doing. Trucking insurance agents, consulting companies, people that have been in the business that are going to help you and that know what you're talking about. I can't tell you how many times I've talked to trucking companies that have been in business longer than I've been alive, and they still don't have the right forms on their policy because their agent didn't know. And now they're being audited by DOT, and they're like, "What's that?" And I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" So it's you really need to make sure that you're dealing with people that know what they're doing, not just selling you a policy for commission, that are really trying to help you. So there's several different forms. There's the form BMC 91X, which is the federal filing to activate your motor carrier authority. That's electronically issued by your insurance company. There is the MCS 90 endorsement. That's required when you're hauling anything for hire across state lines. That endorsement is required to be attached to your insurance policy, and it's only provided when requested by enforcement. That usually is done at an audit. There is the Form E and the Form H. Form E is your proof of liability coverage for state authority. So when you are dealing with states that require intra-state authority to operate and to transport goods within the borders of their state, that Form E is proof of liability coverage, and the Form H is cargo coverage. So you have to provide the coverage you have to provide the state with confirmation. And those are the only two accepted forms that the states will receive from the insurance company direct to prove that you have the coverage. Plus, let me just add one thing. I said the BMC 91X for the liability. You also need the BMC 34 for motor truck cargo as a household goods mover.
Okay, great. Excellent. All right. So we're looking at starting. The first step you said was to get an insurance quote. The next step, I forget what it was. It was
the business structure, LLC, sole proprietor corporation.
Business structure. Third was then to contact you to work out the authorities and hire you to get the authorities and work the thing. Now that we've got the authorities, right, and we've got all the forms have been submitted, what do we do now?
You need to get tagged. You need to, depending on let's talk about the weight of the truck here, because that kind of determines on what kind of tags you're going to need and all of that stuff. So if you're over 26,000 pounds, 26,000, and you have to think too, because the CDL rule was 26,001 pounds or over is required for CDL. With apportion tags, if you're over 26,000 pounds, 26,000 or more pounds, then you need to have apportion tags. And that is, again, the whole process is done differently per state. I don't know why they have to make it so complicated, but every state will require different proofs of your business, documents of your business, to set up what's called an IRP account with the state, which stands for International Registration Plan, aka apportioned tags. That's what we're talking. That's all one and the same here. You have to get apportioned tags to operate legally across state lines. And then if you're over 26,000 pounds as well, you also have to have an IFTA sticker, which, and again, this is where we would be more custom depending on your state. If you're staying within the borders of the state, you might need a motor fuel tax permit for staying within the state as well. So every state's different, but on a federal level, it's IFTA and apportion tags to cross state lines if you're over 26,000. If you're under 26, then you just need regular tags, no IFTA.
Okay, great. All right, so we've done all of that. Now I've gotten a little bit bigger. I've gotten a little bit more wiser. I want to start adding trucks.
Okay.
Can I use the same authority for all my trucks, or
sure
do I have
can.
to get authority for each truck?
Nope. The DOT number and the motor carrier number is on the business level. So all vehicles over 10,001 pounds that you're using in your business will fall under that DOT number that you currently have for your business. They all fall under that umbrella.
Good. All right. Excellent. Good. So now we're just going to operate, and except for keeping those rudiments in, maintain those rudiments, we're pretty much good to go, right?
You're pretty much good to go. As far as to legally turn the truck and have the authority to operate, then once it's active, you're good to go. You still have to remember there's some DOT compliance requirements that are going to pertain to you that you need to handle on the back end, because you don't want to delay getting them done, because you're going to have to go through a DOT new entrant audit, usually within the first year of starting up. So you want to make sure that you got all that taken care of, because once you're ready to start working, you're going to be hustling. You don't have time to deal with all that paperwork, and you're going to end up pushing it to the side if you don't take care of it right away. So you've got that period of time. Take that time to get that stuff done. And that is, do you want me to go into that now?
Yeah, well, let's do it. We're talking about it. Let's get going.
All right. So the first thing I tell everybody, there's the 4 main regulations with DOT compliance when you're crossing state lines. And some varies depending on if you're CDL or non-CDL, right? But for the most part, here they are. You need to have driver qualification files on every single person that drives that truck, including the owner. You have to fill out an application for employment. You have to have medical cards, driver's license. I'm not going to go into the whole list of things, but we do provide you with the whole file. So there's no excuse on you not having all the proper paperwork. But you need to make sure that you have the driver qualification file on anybody that drives the truck. One of the big things with driver qualification too is that if you're hiring a driver, you do have to check out their previous employment history. They're supposed to provide you with 10 years of employment, and then you need to verify the last 3. So that helps you make a judgment call too before you're hiring a driver based on their prior experience and work history.
Well, I didn't know that. That's I knew you had to check and make sure that there were, no major felonies and stuff like that,
Yeah, sure. The background check, but then you got to check, because they could have had accidents with their previous employer that weren't DOT recordable, so you wouldn't know about them, so there's a lot that you can find out of a driver from their previous employer. So driver qualification is the first thing. The second is hours of service. You need to know what you're legally allowed to drive and operate and be on duty and off duty and driving. You need to know all of that. If you're a short haul operation, if most of your business stays within 150 air miles, you need to know what you need to have for that. If you're going to be traveling farther than 150 air miles, you need to make sure that you have the ELDs in the truck. If the engine was manufactured 2000 or newer, you got to have an ELD. So there's a lot to the hours of service as well. I mean, that's really the backbone of the safety regulations with FMCSA. So if you're not in compliance with hours of service, then you're just asking for trouble. It's got to be, you got to have that straight.
Right. Then there's just to stop you right there. I usually give my guys a standard just so that we never have a problem, because it could be really confusing. Like, oh, you can only do 14 hours at this point, and then you got to have this many hours of downtime, and it's really convoluted. It's not simple. So I just really keep it simple. I say, if you're going to be loading the truck and unloading the truck, 10 hours of windshield time, and you pull over, period. That's it. That's the day.
Yeah, that for the most part, yeah. So the rules are that you cannot drive a commercial vehicle after being on duty for more than 14 hours.
Right.
So that means the minute you wake up and you go to work and you start working, the clock starts. You can't drive after being on duty for more than 14 hours. You cannot drive more than 11 hours in a day. There are, required breaks that are needed sometimes, but for the most part, you cannot drive more than 11 hours in a day. I can see the issue with household goods movers. They're not always driving. They're actually doing the moving. They get on site and they spend hours at a location, but that's still ticking away at the clock. So they just have to make sure that they're not driving a commercial vehicle after being on duty for more than 14 hours, because you've probably driven a long time. I've driven to Florida. My gosh, that's tiring after, so long. So you get the reason why they have the rules. I don't always agree with every single one of them, but you get it. It's tiring. You need to pull over. You need to take your break. So that's the second part of it, is learning the hours of service, making sure that you have all of the, you've got your logs, or you've got your ELD, your timesheet, however your operation is, you've got the required forms and you're in compliance with that. The third thing is vehicle maintenance and inspection. Again, this is I'm talking on the federal level, but you have to check with your state, because there's about, I'd say maybe 15 to 20 states that have their own state inspection program. So if those states have their own program, you follow their rules first. So for instance, here in Maryland, we have what's called preventative maintenance, which means commercial trucks in Maryland that are registered in Maryland have to have their trucks and have a preventative maintenance inspection every 25,000 miles or each year, whichever comes first. The federal DOT says you have to do it once a year, but because of Maryland, we have to do ours every 25,000 miles or each year, whichever comes first. Every state's different. So for instance, Delaware, they don't have a state program, so you follow the federal rules once a year. Has to be done every year. And then you have to make sure that you have vehicle maintenance files. If FMCSA comes in to do an audit on you, they're going to want to make sure that you've documented everything you've done to that truck, that you've got the routine maintenance schedules in place to make sure that you're properly, checking light bulbs and greasing and oil changes and tire rotation. They want to make sure that you're doing everything that you need to do to keep that truck safe on the roads. So if you don't have those documentations, that documentation, that's a problem.
Right.
And then lastly is drug and alcohol testing. That's only required for CDL drivers. You need to make sure that either you, depending on how many drivers you have, if you're going to in-house that pool testing, that you've got the proper documentation to show that you're randomly selecting the required amount of drivers each quarter for drug and alcohol. If you don't feel like fooling with it, then you need to find a consortium that will handle it for you. And I refer a lot of my guys out to local consortiums here that will handle it and will keep them in compliance with DOT. Drivers have to be in a pool for drug and alcohol testing, and the percentages for drugs have to be pooled and the percentages for alcohol have to be pooled each quarter. And then they need to be in the drug and alcohol clearinghouse if you're a CDL driver. That's fairly new. That's still not 100. I just did a whole interview on that, the whole clearinghouse part of it. We're starting to see more and more enforcement on that, and it's causing problems. We're seeing CDL drivers that have tested positive for drugs and alcohol are getting employed by trucking companies that are not registered for the clearinghouse and not running drivers. And then the drivers are getting stopped roadside. Enforcement is checking, seeing they're prohibited, and oh my goodness, trucks get impounded. Drivers are it's a whole nightmare. So those are the four main things that you have to make sure that you're in compliance with, because they're going to be asked to provide documentation at the time of the audit. And again, it's driver qualification, hours of service, vehicle maintenance inspection, and drug and alcohol.
Right. Now, I know that there's a whole trucker shortage, right? At least that's what the news keeps telling us over and over and over. And I heard in the news that they had changed, the federal government has went in to the property authority there and said, hey, we got to relax some of these restrictions. And so they're allowing some people that, because in the past, if you had a felony, you were not allowed to be an over-the-road trucker. Is that still true today? Or has that been changed?
No, as far as Oh, I haven't been asked that question in a long time, Jay. I don't, as far as I know, that there's no issues with having a, I don't know. I'm
Good.
going to leave it at that. I
Yeah.
haven't, I mean, I don't believe so. I believe that they can get their commercial driver's license. They might not be able to get uh, other types of clearance like TWIC cards, which are required to access secure locations like the port and places like that.
Military bases and stuff.
Exactly. You may not be able to get into those, but I don't know off the top of my head about the felony issue with CDL.
Right. And again, I don't know. I was just asking anything.
Yeah.
And it might be there's a certain level, like no capital crimes or something, if it's just a
Right. There probably is something. I'm not exactly sure. I can follow up with you later on that.
because there is a certain percentage of people who are starting moving companies that have felonies in their past.
Yes, there are.
And that's a question a lot that really gets them. They don't want to do anything with the government because they're afraid, well, they're just going to get denied anyway because of their past, criminal history.
Right. I had a situation with a customer that did have a tarnished record, and he was completely honest and truthful about all of it. And he was scared to deal with some of those things. And I said, well, I'm not scared to, I can see that you've turned your world around, and, I said, but you got to do it right. You cannot not do things because you're scared, because that's when it's going to come back and bite you even worse than you ever imagined. So, let's just get it done right. I mean, if they say no, they say no, but at least you tried. It's not.
And there's always a way to get around it too. You could bring in a
Yeah.
partner or
Absolutely
a consultant or anything like that to
right.
get around some of it.
Right. And if you're worried about the CDL rules and regulations, then stay a non-CDL truck. You can operate under 26,000 pounds. So
right.
there's
Exactly.
options.
All right. So let's we've kind of gone over the steps for getting legal compliance, right? Navigating the state and federal regulations. What advice do you have for understanding and complying with state and federal transportation? Can you kind of extrapolate on that a little bit?
So understanding all of the federal and state regulations is, I don't even think I understand all of them, to be honest with you. And I've been doing this for 30 years, but
the book's like this thick, right?
Yeah, exactly. And every regulation probably has 150 interpretations. So it's a difficult process, but as long as you understand the minimum required, and that you are showing that you are putting an effort towards compliance, then that's all that you can be asked of. You can't, no one's going to ask you to recite 396.17 at the brink of an eye. But as long as you're understanding the compliance, you're putting your best foot forward, I don't think anybody can ask more than that. I do recommend that if every state has a trucking association. There's, like, we have Maryland Motor Truck Association here. They're a great advocate for the trucking and transportation industry in the state. They're the ones out there fighting the laws for us and making sure that, these dumb rules and regulations that they want to throw out are stopped, and why, and explained to these lawmakers on why they should be stopped and how it's going to impact your industry. So they're a great resource for companies. If you become a member of your local association, they're going to keep you informed monthly, or however. I know ours sends out a monthly newsletter that with upcoming changes in laws, that are happening, that are affecting our industry. They also offer great educational workshops where you can go out and meet with people that have the same type of business as you, and there's people that have a complete opposite type of business, but you're all in there for the same reason, and that's just to educate and keep your business current with the rules and regulations.
Right. Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more in that statement. I tell people, like, because they ask me to go, what about this state or this state, and while I'm pretty well versed, I'm not as well versed as you. And I'm certainly not as well versed as the Movers Association for that particular state. So I'm in Michigan, right? Probably, hopefully, if I can change it, like to go somewhere a little bit more freedom loving, like Texas or Tennessee. But someone asked me about California, which is one of the toughest states in the country to operate in.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, what about California? I'm like, dude, I have no clue. I have absolutely no clue. I can only give you the basics. I can only give you what's standard and universal, right? The actual intricacies of California's particular laws and regulations, I have no clue. And so hooking up with the California Movers Association would be vital.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right. And just as a side note, if you look just below my name, folks, there is a little link. This is whatevermoverneeds.com. It goes to a book that has every tool that you need, every resource you need, every vendor you need, like Erika, like Jessica, anybody, whether it's leads, not leads, if you want somebody to help you with SEO, someone to help you with marketing. It also has a list of every single Movers Association in the United States, Canada, and Europe.
Wonderful.
Right? So go to whatevermoverneeds.com, pick up your copy. It's got everything you could possibly get. Thank you for segueing into that little shameless plug. You didn't even know you did it.
I didn't even know I did it. Good deal.
All right, cool. Very good. All right, so let's get into what are some of the common mistakes that someone's going to make when they're trying to get authority or starting a moving company in regards to getting authority.
So when usually if I've been called after someone has gotten their DOT number and motor carrier number themselves, and they're like, you're just going to have to help me because I've screwed it up. So some of the most common mistakes are they've applied for authority to not only be a household goods mover, but they've also applied to be a freight forwarder and didn't even know it. If you're just hauling, if you're a household goods mover, you're not a freight forwarder. So you won't get your money back, but we'll get that application removed from your motor carrier number. I've also noticed sometimes that the amount of trucks that you indicated that you're going to be operating on the application are wrong, and the amount of drivers that you're going to have are wrong. And that's just because the application for DOT is very misleading. It will say, well, how many are solely operating interstate and how many are solely operating intrastate? And usually guys will enter in the same amount for both. And it just adds, it totals those up, saying, okay, well, you're going to have one operating solely interstate and one solely operating intrastate. Well, you got two trucks. And they're like, no, we only have one. So it's just, it's a play on words. Same situation with drivers. They do the same thing and they ended up saying they've got like 15 drivers and they only have 2. So it's getting that corrected. It also would be, let's see, what else do I see? Common mistakes with it. Indicating different types of cargo you plan on carrying. If you're in the household goods moving lane, it's usually just, household goods and general freight, but you got to be careful because I've seen people, get crazy and, I'm thinking about maybe I'll haul this one day and I'll haul that one day. Well, all that does is cause problems with insurance too. If you're going to an insurance company saying, I'm just going to be a mover, yet you've checked this whole plethora of things you want to haul on your DOT application. Nope, we got to go in and correct that because you need to narrow it down to what you specifically said that your intentions were. That's usually the problem. Other than that, those are usually the most common issues that I have to fix. Some of them, that's usually on the household good moving side that I see those problems. I see plenty of other ones on the trucking side, but for the most part, that's what I see.
Nice. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Sure.
All right. So let's talk about frequently asked questions. I've asked a lot of questions and we've probably gone over most of the FAQs that you normally get, but what are some of the big, more pressing FAQs that you get, especially from small and new movers or moving companies, and even big ones necessarily, but let's really concentrate on like for the guys who are just starting up.
We've pretty much hit on most of them. I think more recently here, I get a lot of questions about the Drug and Alcohol Clearinghouse because that's such a hot topic right now, and is being where a lot of issues are coming from safety regulations regarding the clearinghouse. I think, a lot of problems too. I can't stress this enough when you start in the commercial business of household goods moving and or trucking, you have to, you have to be able to understand. You don't have to be an expert on it, but you need to understand the what we just went over when it comes to the DOT regulations and the authority, and why you have to have that stuff, and why it's important, because you need to be able to keep abreast of all of those requirements, because things things get out of control, I guess you could say, with, you're busy and you're working and you're driving and you're doing the moving and you're generating the revenue and you're doing everything to keep those wheels moving, and everything else that regarding safety has been pushed to the side, that will creep up at some point and haunt you for years. And I see it so often where companies start up and they're doing good and they're hustling and they're making money, and they're getting excited, and then that light bulb goes off and they're like, oh, maybe I should add another truck, right? And another driver. Well, now we've got an extra set of problems that we've added, and we still aren't compliant with driver qualification, drug and alcohol testing, vehicle maintenance and inspection. But now we've just added a whole nother set of problems to the business. And so now we've got 2 trucks working. That's just even more time that's taking away from you to get that safety stuff taken care of. And then roadside inspections happen, and the driver hasn't submitted his medical to keep his CDL active. And we've got securement issues with loads, or we've got brake problems and lights out. And then all of a sudden, all of this stuff starts to add up under your DOT number. And guess who's knocking on your door, or calling you, or emailing you? And it's DOT, and you don't have what you're supposed to have. And that usually ends up being a fire to me. I've just got the email from DOT. I don't have any of this stuff. Can you help me? So then it's having to stop completely what I'm doing and help bring them all up to speed. And no, I can't fix all of the issues, but that's usually where I see a lot of the problems with companies that have started up, Jay, is they're too, everybody as a business is focused on revenue. I'm focused on revenue. We all are. That's just the gist of it, right? That's why you start a business, but you cannot let that stuff go to the wayside. You need to get a handle on it. Because I usually get questions about that over and over. Well, what's this? Or, what do I need to have for my driver qualification file? Well, that is all stuff that you should have had since day one, not 9 months down the road.
Right.
So yeah, it's just important getting that stuff taken care of. And once you initially get that part of it taken care of, it's easy to maintain. You're just getting driver's license, your driving record once a year, or, making sure your medical is updated every couple of years. It's not that horrendous of paperwork, but that's usually what I get questions about the most is, the DOT side of things, keeping compliance on it, because I've seen the horror stories, I've been through the audits that are bad. And
yeah. And I think it really affects those guys who just don't have their organization in just effectively enough, because they're still a small and struggling, hustling, moving company out there. And especially if you don't have the money or the thing, it's hard. It's hard to have that in the back of their head, to be able to go, okay, I got to do once a month, I got to have the truck inspected. Once a month, I got to check the brakes and oils and fluids and all this stuff. And then not only do I have to check the trucks in once a month, I have to have checkups on the guys every so often. And then heaven forbid if they have an accident, now I got to get them drug tested and all this other stuff. And it takes away from the actual doingness of the business.
Right.
And it's just, so of course they're just going to go, just from the law of complexity, it tries to simplify everything. And when it gets too complex, it either gets ignored or just screw it. I'm not going to do it. And they know you know what I mean? They just do it. So this is where your service comes into play and you can help them out. And, and now is it once a year? Is it a once a month? What is it? Let's go over a little bit of all your services. Cause this is like a lot of it's like operational stuff that you're doing here. Do you have a service where they could hire you to maintain and keep track of and remind people and in some cases even do this for them?
So I just recently started to add a little bit of those services to my menu. But I have to be careful, just like you said, we're just two people here. I can't go overboard, but I do have the systems in place where I can process a driver qualification file. And I usually will do it on an owner operator, just the owner that is driving it, I'll handle his for him. But when I say this all the time, when you have drivers, when you have lots of drivers, you need to in-house this stuff. You need to be able to have someone that is specifically assigned to this responsibility. Because am I allowed to cuss?
Yeah, go ahead.
Because when the shit hits the fan with DOT doesn't care who Erika Wilson is. DOT cares who that moving company is and why was this not done. They don't care that Erika didn't tell you. It's your responsibility to know what these rules and regulations are. So you really should have someone in-house when you have multiple trucks on the road that's monitoring this stuff for you and doing what's required. And that's going to require training of that person. Send them to the classes that the Motor Truck Associations offer. Send them to JJ Keller's online virtual class. Whatever knowledge they can get to understand the business, then that's what they need to do. They can't rely on other people telling them what to do. They need to learn it themselves and understand it. That's what their job is for. It's very important. And it's, you should in-house it so you should know what's going on with your drivers, and you should know that this one still has not turned in his medical to the MVA. That these are big things that you need to know as a company. And so that's why I always stress you need to in-house it, whether you take it on yourself or you hire someone to help you. But I strongly suggest that businesses always in-house that. And if I helped you with your setting up your business, and I do, we've established a relationship, whether I do your insurance or I'm doing your fuel taxes, call me if you have a question. I'll be more than happy to teach you what's right and what's wrong. But I really strongly suggest that you in-house it, just because it's your ass on the line, not mine.
Great. All right, good. That's I think that's really pretty thing. It comes down to, there's a lot more than just getting a DOT or MC number. Right. There's more than just getting a motor carrier number. There's more than just getting a DOT number. There's a lot that goes into it. And if you don't have all your ducks in a row, the federal government's if they pull you over, they're gonna look far and wide just to make sure that they get you for something.
Absolutely. I've seen clean inspections. Don't get me wrong. I've seen guys get very clean inspections, and that's great. That's wonderful. But they're going to usually find something wrong. And when you operate as a business, when you have a commercial business with a DOT number, the safety of your business is determined by your roadside inspections, according to DOT. So the reason, and this is I'm just going to get into this part of it as far as what could cause an audit from DOT. Of course, you go through the new entrant audit where they ask for the basic things to make sure that you're in compliance. You get the green light, they cut you loose, you're good to go. But what would cause DOT to come into a business would be you gave them a reason to come into it. And that could be that it's usually generated from roadside inspections and or crashes. So where I monitor a lot of my customers. They pay me to monitor their DOT number. I subscribe to a company. So every time a hit shows up on their DOT number, whether it's an inspection or they change something on their MCS 150, like what they're hauling, I get an alert. So it's giving me the extra set of eyes to be like, what are you doing? You know, what's going on? And I can say to them, you know, I've had companies where their drivers have gotten too many speeding violations, and it's caused their unsafe driving category with FMCSA to go over the threshold, and then they get into an accident, a DOT recordable accident, and it's usually you're going to get audited, because this is the whole reason why they have the CSA system, and it's just a given. You know, you go over the threshold of certain things, you know, your violations outweigh your clean inspections, and then you have crashes, you're going to get audited. And, you know, it's important that you monitor that yourself, and you know where to look and see that information, and know, okay, well, we've got problems. Of course, you're going to get copies of the roadside inspections from your drivers or yourself or whatever, but you need to monitor it. You need to see how it's affecting your business, and help prevent DOT coming in, because it's not fun. It is not fun at all. It is usually, it's quite the cumbersome reality check that you get as a business.
Right. So, I mean, ultimately the lesson here is, don't be too in a hurry to start doing these big long distance trips and all this stuff, getting these trucks, unless you're ready and able and are willing to, you know, get the consequences should you not be following the rules exactly.
Right. And don't grow too quick. I mean, you need to grow slow, so you have a handle on, you know, each truck and each driver. You know, one of the biggest areas of concern that I have is when they grow too quick and they put drivers in these trucks, or they're leasing on people. These people can screw it all up for you in a heartbeat. One bad DOT accident or one serious violation, because you're not doing what you're doing and monitoring the situation, and you've just caused all kinds of problems on the DOT level. And insurance companies monitor your DOT record like it's the holy grail. And if it's a hot mess, they don't want nothing to do with you.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I try to warn people, because, like, one thing I warn customers like about this, that they got to make sure that their people are, you know, properly licensed and insured. And they don't really understand what I mean. They mean, oh, so a company is giving them a certificate of insurance for running their business, but that's not really licensed and insured. Are their drivers licensed? Do they have medical cards? Are they, you know, has their trucks been inspected within the last year or 2 years, or whatever the state requires, whatever it is? You know, all of these have to be complied with, because if someone gets pulled over and there's something wrong, there's the consumer part, not even us. The consumer can have a very bad day, because that truck could be impounded for a day, 2 days, or even indefinitely until that's fixed.
Yeah. And let him be under the influence of drugs or alcohol. Oh, hell is going to break loose then. Yeah, you're going to have big problems.
Right.
So yeah, you know, I get a lot of my business, myself and my referral business, is previous employees of companies that are now going out on their own, right? That they are ready to take the plunge. They can figure this out and do it themselves. And don't get me wrong, they're probably some of the hardest working people out there, and they can definitely hustle and make the money and make a good business. But you've got to be able to manage everything. You know, when you get into the household goods moving business, or you're getting into the trucking business, DOT compliance is part of this business. It's not, it's required to be in compliance. And if you're not, then you're not running a good business. You're just not. And it's going to come back and haunt you. I'm an insurance agent. I have requirements myself as an insurance agent. I have to take all these continuing education classes each year. If I don't, then I don't have a license. So if you're a trucker and you don't do what's required and do what's needed, then you're not a trucker. You've got to do what you're supposed to do.
So, I mean, when it comes down, you got to have the proper systems and processes to operate this business. And if you're not up to it and you're not educated enough yet, or, haven't contacted you or someone like me or someone like Jessica or whomever, a mover, somebody and you haven't gotten the proper education to do it, and where you fully got a full grasp of what's needed and wanted, you really shouldn't get involved in doing the hauling or having authority until you know what's the risks are. Now, if you know the risks and you want to take those risks, that's on you. But the point is, if you don't know the risk and you do something, it could be a really bad day, especially if you want to, operate effectively, right?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
And that brings in another good plug. Thank you for that accidental segue. You can buy my book on Amazon for 99 cents called The 7-Figure Systems. It's available on Amazon today. Just go to 7-Figure Systems, J.L. Burnham, and you can find that book. 99 cents. It's an ebook, cheap. If you can't afford 99 cents, you shouldn't be in business, and just go to work for somebody, flip a burger, right? So go get it. It's an easy read. It's like 60 pages. You should be able to do it. All right. Great. So, let's talk about you personally. I want to get into who you are now, if you don't mind. Let's get a little personal. Married, kids?
Married. I've been married for 18 years now. I have to think for a second. Married. I have 3 daughters, and none of them want anything to do with the transportation industry. Our oldest is 24. I have a 18-year-old, and I have she'll be 14 on Friday.
Nice.
Yep. And we live here in Eastern Shore, Maryland, born and raised. My husband is not in the trucking or transportation industry either. He is a mason. But we have lived here all of our lives.
Okay, good. I just noticed on Facebook, right? I mentioned when we were off camera that I saw you were all over Facebook, going to New York. I saw you at Rockefeller Center. You were going to Macy's Day Parade route there. Are you far away from New York? It was a
3-hour drive. Yep.
3-hour drive. Okay.
Yeah. So my daughter's in college in Staten Island, like I said, and we do make quite a few more frequent trips to New York than I ever thought I would. But she loves it up there. She's a theater, loves everything to do with theater. So we.
My condolences. My condolences.
Yeah. Right. So we try to go into New York and see a Broadway show with her because that's what interests her the most. So it's good. It's opened my whole eyes to a whole other world that I didn't even know existed. But none of my kids. New world. Yeah, it has, right. But none of my kids have any interest in this business. So it might be, I don't know. You never know what happens 10 years from now. So.
Right. All right. Good. So dogs, cats, pets, or do you work at home? Do you have an office?
I do have an office here in Easton. But at home I have, oh my goodness, we have 2 guinea pigs, a Bernese Mountain Dog, and 2 cats. So we have, quite the range. I'm sure most families go through the whole guinea pig, hamster, cat, dog phase or whatever. I'm a big supporter and advocate of diabetes research. My daughter, one of my daughters, is a type 1 diabetic. She was diagnosed when she was 13. And one of the biggest things, I don't know if you saw this, Jay, on Facebook or not, is we we put on here locally, me and a fellow business owner that does diesel engine repair, a truck show annually. This is the third year. And we work with a local nonprofit down the road here that has a huge venue with truck pool, a whole track for truck pools. And we have the truckers around here, they shine their trucks up and they come out and they support this awesome cause for me. We had 258 trucks this year show up. And these are the tractor trailers and the dump trucks, the big guys. And they came in, shined their trucks up, and some of them hooked to the sled and pulled. But we've probably raised this year, probably netted close to 40,000 that we can donate to diabetes research, which is, very important to me. So
nice.
It's a hard disease, and diabetes is huge in the trucking and the household good moving industry because of the kind of lifestyle these guys have to live out on the road. Don't always make the best choices, and diabetes is huge. So that's why it's important for me.
Yeah, I have diabetes. It's undiagnosed, but I had my blood tests and all the blood tests and all the tests that you take for that. It says, yeah, you're within the levels. And it fluctuates. Sometimes I'm just into it. Sometimes I'm just out of it. But yeah, I know what you're talking about. 2 years ago, this wasn't even a problem. But after I had my heart, I had congestive heart failure. After that, it just, everything in my body just
whack. Yeah,
just went splooey. So, I mean, at the time they took my blood, I was all good to go. There was no problems. I was overweight, and I had congestive. But after that, it just, boom, it just shoots out. So I kind of, eat healthy, but it's hard. It's hard out there, and I have a sedentary lifestyle because I'm behind a computer pretty much all day. So I understand you got to get out there and exercise. So
yeah, you gotta make better choices when you're out on the road sometimes to help keep your levels down. The long-term effects of diabetes are not good. That's when, there's, concerns with losing limbs and all. It's just awful, and you have organs and all of that stuff. So my daughter is on an insulin pump. She's full-blown type 1 diabetic. So she's on an insulin pump and the glucose monitor. So she requires constant maintenance, monitoring and all that stuff. So it was a scary time for our family because when you're diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, I mean, you have to completely change your lifestyle, and so did our family. So it was a pretty scary thing. But I've been public, not not to get into her personal life so much, but I have made basically, our struggles public about it. And since then, I've had a lot of people reach out to me on Facebook about they just got diagnosed, or their kid or their grandkid, and and it's important to me. It's important that we try. I've told her before. I said, when I leave this earth, I want you to know that I really did try to find a cure for you, because she's all my kids are so important to me, but having to deal with that on top of it is tough.
All right, let's get a little bit into some basic business advice. You're a small business owner. I'm a small business owner. Pretty much every single person that's watching today or has watched today are small business owners. What guidance would you offer an aspiring business owners? What would be some of the things that you would say, hey, you should do this or shouldn't do this?
Wow. I worked for a small business that went corporate, and then was bought out and sold multiple times. So I had, at my previous agency that I was employed with, we had been bought out and sold, I think 4 times. And finally I just was like, this is ridiculous. The level of emphasis stopped being on the customers and what we needed to do for our customers. And it was more about impressing board of directors and all that kind of stuff. So I finally had enough of that, which is why I took the jump into starting my own business. And it was shortly after my father's passing too. He worked 45 years for a company, and it just gives you a different outlook on stuff. So I'm a huge advocate for starting up your own business. That's why I have Wilson Transportation Services, because I I want my guys to succeed. You know, when they come to me and they've made that decision to start their own business, I wish I had someone like me when I started my own business that would have been, you know, helping me throughout this whole process. You know, stuff I had to figure out by myself. So I'm a huge advocate on making that jump to start your own business first and foremost, and that's why I take such pride in our work and helping these guys. But I will tell you is just, you know, it's not easy either. I mean, I've said, how many times have I said to you, I work 14 hours a day? You know, I do. And is that healthy? No, it's not healthy, but you know, I do it because I love it and I want to be able to keep our business strong and there for many, many years. Um, but I think the first and foremost is balance. Really, you have to be able to balance your work and balance your family. And I don't always take my advice on that, but I think that's crucial. You know, you have to be able to still be there for your husband or wife or kids or whatever, and otherwise, what are you doing all of this for? You know, it's not worth it. But you know, my family means the world to me, and I do try and balance it as much as I possibly can, but it's hard sometimes. And then it's really what I was kind of stressing before with the compliance side is the back end stuff, the stuff that nobody wants to fool with. You know, your bookkeeping, your accounting, your taxes, and all of that stuff. You know, you really need to align yourself with someone that's going to help you stay current and consistent on all of that, and is out there looking, is as passionate in your business as much as you are and helping you with that. It's not, you won't always find those people right away, but you will eventually. And then you find the right match when you find the right match.
Right. Now, is there any books or podcasts that you really pay attention that's helped you in your business life that you say, hey, you know, you should read this book or listen to this podcast or whatever? Is there anything like that you go to? Or do you say, screw it, I know everything?
I don't, I'm not sorry, cover your ears, Jay, but I'm not a huge podcast listener. I've started, and I only say this just because I don't have time. I go, I'm working, and then, I don't really have time to listen to it. But I have recently, just in the past year, so I do have to say it's kind of changed a little bit. I am listening to podcasts a little bit more, when I'm on long drives and all that stuff, I'm listening to it. And I do listen to Freight Waves quite a bit. They talk a lot about things that I'm interested in, and that's with compliance and what's affecting the industry, and things that we need to be looking out for later on down the road, and that stuff is important to me, so I do check that out. I go to, I try to educate, and like I even go to these Maryland Motor Truck meetings every once in a while and get a refresher of things that are going on. Or I go to the Mid-America Truck Show every year in Louisville and interact with everybody out there, and hear the griping and the successes of people. And so it's really putting yourself out, in with what everybody else is, where everybody else is at, and listening to everybody.
Right now, there's a big thing. You might have heard about it. It's called AI, open AI, chat GPT, and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
Where do you see that happen? Do you see that affecting our industry at all? Is in any significant manner as far as regulations and stuff like that? I mean, or
possibly. I don't know if I'll see it necessarily. I don't think we'll see it anytime really soon. I think there's just too many studies with that kind of stuff that have to be taken care of before we really see a huge impact on it. But it's funny with the AI thing. I did a commercial. I guess like 6 years ago, right? I did a commercial on our local television station here.
Mm-hmm.
And that was expensive to do a commercial on TV, so it was like a one and done for me, really. But the marketing guy from the television station comes in quite often, hey, do you want to do this? I'm like, I don't have any money. So, but he came in and saw me last week, Jay, and it was funny. And he says, I want to show you that. I want you to listen to this. And he played it, and it was my voice. And it was a commercial, like a radio ad using my voice that I didn't record. And it was from my commercial that I had done so many years ago. They were able to take my voice and re-record it and make this little holiday message for the radio station. So I ended up buying it, but I was like, that's kind of creepy. It really is.
Oh yeah, there's actually a video online right now of Tom Cruise in his younger days, where he's doing dishes, and it's completely 100% AI, and you cannot tell. The voice sounds exactly. It looks like it's him, right? It's somebody who's playing him about his age, but they AI'd his head basically onto the body, and the mouth moves exactly right. Everything, it's all AI, and it's like, I mean, a lot of movies are being made with AI and stuff, and that's one of the big things that Hollywood had a problem with coming, because AI is going to be the wave of the future in Hollywood, right? Because they already got CGI, now they're coming up with AI, so now they're going to have, you're going to see someone like Tom Cruise star in a movie 100 years from now, and
Right.
he's going to be in a movie.
It's just his face and his voice, because they were able to do that. It just blows my mind. I mean,
Yeah.
I was sitting there listening. I'm like, that is so creepy. And he's like, it is, but it's awesome, isn't it? I'm like, yeah, it's awesome because I don't have to record it. I hate recording. I don't even like I don't even like talk. I don't like any of it. But
How dare you?
I'm not comfortable with it. But it was crazy to see all that, and it sounded terrific. I mean, I hope in my lifetime I don't see automated trucks. I really don't. I mean, I think
they're already there.
I know we're on the cuff of it, but it's kind of scary, to be honest with you, because I could go on hours for this, but one of the big things that's coming in the pipeline now is the speed mandate, and that worries me tremendously. Are truckers and commercial businesses at fault for accidents? Of course they are. I'm not blind to that fact. There's some real idiots out there operating equipment. I get it. But, when you look at the statistics of accidents regarding a commercial vehicle, it's not old. It's mostly distracted people. I'm going to call them four-wheelers because that's what the truckers call them, is four-wheelers. It's the people driving the regular cars. They're the ones that are distracted. And common sense is hard to come by nowadays. And, I shared several videos not too long ago because it just drives me nuts that the FMCSA is thinking about this speed mandates. I get it. I get why they're doing it, but I think it's just going to be a bad problem. People are so impatient now. There's none. Everybody expects everything right now. And even in my business, people, if someone texts me and I don't text them back within 5 minutes, I mean, they're like burning up my phone, like you get ready to call the Coast Guard. I mean, it's just ridiculous. I mean, so I just can imagine the amount of problems that we're going to have with people in cars passing tractor trailers that are going too slow. And going too slow nowadays is not the speed limit. Going too slow nowadays is 10, 15 miles an hour over the speed limit, unfortunately, in the world we live in. And I just see nothing but bad coming from that. We live in a rural area, and the videos I showed would honestly take your breath away. I mean, single lane, both directions, and cars, my truckers are going the speed limit, if not maybe 5 to 10 miles an hour over the speed limit. And cars are passing them on the shoulder of the opposite side to get around them because they're late for work. This is just crazy. It scares me. It really does.
Yeah. And that actually brings up the thing. What do you kind of mentioned it earlier, I mean, you got California out there saying, okay, there's no longer going to be fossil fuel type vehicles 2030.
Yeah.
They're gone. They're done. I mean, you can be grandfathered in if you got old ones, but pretty much any new ones you got out there. And then you're going to get these self-driving trucks. You got like Pepsi and Amazon. And, what do you think about that? I mean, to me right now, I just think it's a waste of time. I think it's ridiculous. One, we don't have the infrastructure for it. There's no way to charge. These trucks can only do 300 miles if you're lucky on a single charge, right? If they get into like some winter conditions, that's going to be 200 miles. I mean, that's going to take a job that would last, a day or 2 days. That's going to stretch it out to 3, 4, even 5 days.
It's in my opinion, it's just stupid is what it is. To think that we as a country can survive on these electric vehicles and these, it's just, oh my God, it just drives me crazy. I mean, look at the issue. Do you remember, you may have remembered this. I mean, and I think it was it last year, or the year before, on 95, when that huge snowstorm hit and there were people trapped out on 95 for several days as a result of the snow because they couldn't get people to. Can you imagine being an electric car in that snowstorm? I mean, you were done. You'd freeze to death. I mean, so you're waiting for the snow plows and the bulldozers and the excavators that are all on diesel to come plow you out.
Right.
Just, the logic on it just drives me crazy. Or the fact that you need this generator to charge your electric car. That's running on diesel.
I mean, I could see like a big truck that could put like solar panels on top of their truck to help kind of keep trickle charging inside a cabin, those kind of situations. But if you're in a car, good luck, man. In a good night, it's you're done for. You're right. And while they have some great torque and they can get up mountains with heavy loads and stuff like that, the engines are great. But you go up a big mountain with a full load, that battery is going to be drained by the time you hit the top.
Well, you think we have a truck shortage now? Mm-hmm. The guys that I know that are driving these Peterbilts and Kenworths, you're not going to see them in the dainty electric trucks. These guys are about power and oomph and moving and getting the job done and getting it done quick. And they, tough guys. You're not going to see it. You think we have a shortage now? You just wait. It'll be bad. There will allow some grandfathered in, but the more that gets on it, it's just gonna, and then the whole chain, the whole cycle, it'll affect us all. It will. Just like we're now starting, we're really starting to see the effect of COVID in the trucking industry now, I think. So it's I mean,
COVID just killed the amount of jobs that were there. People just said, I'm screwed, I'm done, I'm not coming back.
Yep.
And so the whole supply chain was killed thing. And then when now you're making more and more restrictions and less people qualify, and then you're trying to bring in more restrictions like California. You're just nuts. I mean, I'm nuts. Sorry. They're just, I hate communists, and it's done.
I know. I wish it would just break off and float. Right.
Just go away. But, and then now they want to bring Gavin Newsom in as president. Oh, that would be just awesome. Anyway, none said. I'm trying to stay away from politics. Stop. Anyway, but it's apropos to this whole conversation because if we don't have the infrastructure, I mean, electric vehicles and alternate fuel vehicles are the wave of the future. That's a given. There is no stopping that train.
No, there's not.
Right. But we can't just say, okay, well, we're going to give them up. We're not going to the Greta Thunberg model and just say, let's stop oil. It doesn't work because there's got to be the infrastructure there, which isn't there at all. There's nothing in place to put the infrastructure. And not only that, where we get the stuff to build the batteries is controlled by our enemies, China and Iran. And it's like, are you kidding me? You know what I mean? And nobody's thinking like, oh, well, we're going to start a war with China. That would be the dumbest thing in the world.
Yeah.
China doesn't even have to fire a single shot to decapitate this country. All they have to do is say, good, no more lithium.
Right. We'll just cut off one supply and you're done.
Yeah,
Yep.
you're done.
Yeah.
No more. We're not going to export anything to you. There goes our computers. There goes their clothes. There goes our toys. Everything that America is known for is gone because China and some of those other communist countries control it. And all they have to say is, you're done. We cut you off. Bloop. And they don't have to fire a shot to beat us. Right. And then our war machine is controlled by what they supply. So what are we going to do? Go to war? Good luck with that.
It's scary times. I've said, I've always been I went through the whole 2007-8 recession, in the trucking industry, and that was very scary times. Mm-hmm. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little worried, So, yeah. I've seen what happened leading up to it, and it's
right. Yeah, I agree.
There's a reality, to be honest with you.
I mean, yeah, they created inflation. There's a lot of inflation out there, and yeah, maybe the inflation stopped per their statistics, but now the stock market's going to start cranking up, and what that's going to do is just create a further and further gap between the rich and the poor, mm-hmm. and it's going to make it harder and harder and harder. I mean, you got all these Hollywood guys. They did these strikes. The big three automakers did these strikes, and what people don't realize on the left is, yay, we're gonna get these wages, and that's awesome, amazing, that's great. I'm happy for you. 2 years down the road, guess what? You're in the same road. You're in the same road, in the same bucket. You are in right flipping now. Because they're going to raise prices. Netflix already raising prices. Disney's already raising prices. Car prices are going to increase because they're not going to pay for the increases of what they have to pay now for the thing. So all these insurance, and they just don't realize it. And the people that are hurt are people like you, me, and these truckers.
100%.
100%. And we're cutting our own throats slowly but surely, one small paper cut at a time.
Yes,
it's death by a million cuts versus, just put it in our head and get it done with. Yeah. All right, so let's get off of that.
Okay.
So what are some of your hobbies and interests? What is it that you do? I mean,
trucking.
Outside of trucking, do you like play?
I'll go to a party, and if there's not someone there that has a truck, I'm like, I don't even want to be here. That's me.
So you don't go to the casino and throw down on some blackjack or poker or something like that?
No, honestly, my downtime is usually just with my family. I do love camping and going and visiting places. I'm at that point in my life now where my kids are getting older, and now my interests are really becoming, their interests are now becoming my interests, which is nice. I'm able to enjoy my kids and do things that they love because they're all now old enough to travel and not have any problems. So it's fun to do all that. We're close to Ocean City, Maryland, so we have a little camper down there, and I usually go down there on the weekends during the summer and spend my time down there with friends and all that. So that's really my peace, because after that, then it's just, you can't always spend too much time away from the office because then things get pushed to the wayside.
Yeah,
I guess you got to stay on top of it. And I own my own business, which is a full-time job, and then I am a full-time employee of Goods Insurance. So I have 2 full-time jobs. I'm busy. So
well, keep you busy. That way you can't spend the money.
You can't spend the money. It keeps you out of trouble. Exactly. So we was just talking to someone yesterday, and we were talking about the person, and I said, oh, sounds like they are not busy enough, that they get in trouble and they start doing dumb stuff.
I find that people who complain a lot and do stuff, they don't have enough problems in life. They need to get out there. They need, anyway, it is what it is. What do you see? What do you see? What do you do for personal growth? I mean, you don't have any hobbies. Do you take classes? Do you sew? What is it that you do to personally, others, to grow yourself professionally as a business person as a mother, as a wife, so on and so forth?
Personally, I am just like a sponge of when it comes to learning stuff and knowledge, with that kind of stuff. And I feel like, I'm probably one of the best listeners that you'll ever uh, speak to, because I love to listen to people talk, and I love to hear what they have to say and their contributions are and all of that stuff. And that's important to me. And I feel like when you do that, it just opens you up to a lot more things that could give you other interests and stuff. I don't know. I don't have many hobbies. I used to, but I don't anymore, especially, you'll learn that when you're a self-employed business, you kind of give up some hobbies to keep your business going. But I do. I think right now in my life, I think everything, to me, the most important thing are my children, and enjoying watching them grow. Our oldest is 24, and she just became an occupational therapy assistant. She got licensed in that. So I find interest in learning about her, hearing about her day and what her challenges are. And then, we got one in New York, and my youngest is just now she's in 8th grade. So she's starting to learn more things, and she's getting some interest. She's teaching herself how to play guitar. I mean, so it's kind of cool to sit there and absorb all of that. Me personally, I mean, where do I find my peace? Right now it's acupuncture. I'm a big acupuncture believer. I do that. That helps me calm down, and just spending time with friends on the weekends, people that support you and lift you up. And, people may disagree with me on this, but I feel like too, that when you have customers that become friends, they're some of the greatest people in the world. This is going to sound so cheesy and sappy, but I 100% love the trucking industry. They're some of the hardest working people I have ever met in my life. And I'll tell you why I appreciate them more than anything. My father passed away from lymphoma cancer in 2013. And when we had found out that my father's cancer had spread and he was going to need stem cell transplant in order to beat this, I had put it out there because we were going to need help, right? Where my dad's not going to be able to work. He was a sole provider of his family. He works on commission. He's got to sell trucks, the whole 9 yards, right? And I put it out there, and we had an event, and this industry around here showed up from my family. I'm talking, I don't even know how many people showed up. It was the most unbelievable thing I have ever experienced in my life, is when you can be vulnerable and ask for help, because I'm not a person to ask for help. I'm very, very funny about that. But you were very vulnerable at that time when we asked for help, and this industry showed up. My dad's customers showed up. And that was when I realized, and I've been in the industry. I've been selling insurance to these guys. I've been doing some of these services for them with the other place that I worked at. So I had experience, but when I saw that, I'm like, wow, it changed my life, to be honest with you. My dad ended up passing away 1 month after that event. He was selling a truck the day he died. He gave everything to his customers, and they gave everything to him. And from that moment on, and people will tell you, that's what drives me, honestly. And a lot of these guys are my friends. It's who I want to spend my free time with, honestly, because they're such good people. And they mean the world to me. They mean the world to my family. I mean, they've supported my family for, I don't know, considering with my dad, 60 years. So I don't know. I'm just a girl that loves trucks. That's all I can say.
Nice. No, that's a great story. Thank you for sharing that. All right. So what's your future plans? What do you see, yourself 5, 10, 20, 15 years down the road, whatever it is? What's your goals and aspirations? What do you see you personally and you as your business?
I would like to see Wilson Transportation Services grow a little bit. I think maybe with my South Dakota remote employee, maybe at some point helping her get established a little bit more out there, maybe to bring in some of the Midwest business a little bit more. I personally hit my own goal this year with insurance sales. I mean, the goods insurance, we're part of PCF Transportation, and they have what's called an Eagle Award, and I hit it. You have to sell a certain amount of insurance, and I hit it. And that to me was, I'm not all into the whole, bells and whistles that come with all of that. It was just a goal for me, and I hit it. And I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool. I did it. So it's continuing to push myself each year as far as revenue is concerned, is just increasing that revenue each year. I need to be able to provide for my family. I need to be able to, I've got one more girl I got to put through college, and this college that we're in New York is not cheap. So I've got that. But as long as my family is healthy and happy, and, I think that's the best goal of anything, honestly, really. And I'm just proud to help each and every person that comes in here. I mean, I'm a huge advocate for these guys starting up in business, and I love it. And if you saw my office, you'd know I have pictures all around of my customers. That's all. They'll put a picture on Facebook, they'll share a picture, and I'm like, that's a beautiful picture of their truck. And I'll have it framed and I'll ship it to them. I'll get one for them and one for me. But, I absolutely I think my goals really is just to keep helping people do what they love and start up in this business, and be there for them when they need me, and go from there. I mean, I'm doing okay. I can pay my bills, so I'm all right. I just want this business to be successful and help continue to have other people be successful.
Nice. All right. Well, thank you. All right. So, Erika, here comes the $64,000 question.
Okay.
How can my guys, the 10,000 YouTube subscribers, the thousands of people on my email list, when they see this, and when I email this out and they see parts of it, how can they get a hold of you? How can they talk to you to potentially hire you, or just get a good advice from you? How do they reach out? Tell us that.
Call my landline. Call the basic landline, 410-819-3153. Call there. Meredith is usually on the phone, or I'm on the, I'll grab it if whoever's monitoring the phones that day. And just tell us what you need. You can email us as well. I'm operating off of phones, text, emails all day long. So just say, hey, I need your help.
Any social media? Can I get?
Yep, I'm on Facebook. Yep. So you just have to follow me on Facebook. I have my own personal page, which is Erika Wilson, which you just have to follow me. And then I have Wilson Transportation Services, which is an actual business page. Mm-hmm. So it's either following those. You can hit me up on Facebook and message me. You can shoot me a text, whatever. We're glad to help in any way we can. And I want to learn more about you, the customer, and what you want to do, what your goals are, because I want to be able to. Like I said, I don't want. Not only am I going to worry about you right now, I'm going to worry about you 10 years from now. So, I'm here to help. I can almost guarantee you that I've experienced, or I've been in an experience where I've pretty much. I keep saying every year that nothing surprises me, and then something does surprise me. It'd be a crazy accident that you never thought would happen, and it happened. Mm-hmm. I'm looking forward to getting to know what your goals are and how we can make them happen, because that's what excites me, honestly.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Erika. I really do appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Only thing I said, we're going to end off here certainly, but before you, do not close your computer down, because the StreamYard's got to download the thing. So if you'd leave that open for a moment. But other than that, I really do appreciate your time. We've been here 2 hours or so. Is there any questions you got of me? Anything you'd like to know about me, or anything that I can help you with?
So tell me, how did you get in this industry? Like, what made you told me that you rode on was it your uncle that was an OTR driver?
My stepdad.
Your stepdad, yeah.
My stepdad
What made you get into the moving business?
Quite factually, accidentally. Back in, I just moved back from California. I know, forgive me. I was living with my father just to get myself. I had some money saved up, and so I was living with my father. Needed a job, so found a job with a guy. His name was Mike. He ran what was called Reliable Movers. You know,
A plus, reliable.
Yeah. Reliable. That was authentic. Not only that, he was a rogue mover, was unlicensed, uninsured, had been kicked out of the 2 Men in a Truck franchise system for being not a great guy.
For not being reliable.
Yeah, exactly. So they kicked him out. So he started his own stuff. But he wasn't paying me. So I said, I'm a very smart guy. I'm not trying to be braggadocious, but I'm very intelligent. I'm very well read. I've got 10,000 word vocabulary. I'm pretty observant. And I was seeing what he did. And I said, I could do this. This is easy. I had a background in marketing and sales. So that wasn't hard. I'm not great at sales, but I can do them. I said, screw it. If he's not going to pay me, I'm going to do what he does and stuff. So that's what got me started. Started doing some jobs on the side. He found out about it when he called me one time, and he never called me back for a job. And I didn't care. I was making more money on my side, and that's what got me. So I started with labor only. And I started with nothing. The only thing I had at the time was some money that was saved up, but I couldn't use it because it was saved. And I had a pay-as-you-go phone and my Ford Explorer. And I didn't even have a computer. I had to go to the library for the computer. And then I built that company up really quickly. 2011, I did some stupid stuff, got involved with some business partners that were not as good as they should have been. Ran into some money problems, ended up in jail for 2 months because I didn't pay an insurance ticket because I didn't have insurance paperwork in my car, and they gave me a ticket and I didn't pay it, and I totally forgot about it. They pulled me over and I had to spend literally 45 days in jail.
Oh my
Came
God.
out, my partners wiped me out, took everything, locked the doors. I couldn't get back into my warehouse. So the only thing I had was the clothes on my back and $1 in my pocket. Restarted the business and took it to $1 million up to gross. Not profit. Yeah. And then in 2016, I started a 7-figure moving academy. And now we've got nearly 10,000 subscribers. I am the largest YouTube channel and the largest group of its kind in the world.
That's awesome. Well, good for you for putting this information out there to them and for having these types of educational podcasts, because I'm sure, for people that are considering getting into this business, it can be overwhelming trying to figure all of this out. And the uncertainties of it could probably prevent them from, moving forward. And, there are people out there like you, like me, like Jessica, they're out there willing to help you and get these people in the right direction, because it's, you know yourself, and you know how hard you can work, and you know what you can do. And by all means, tap into those qualities and make it happen. This is, it's not always about a college degree. It's just about what you can offer to this world and do it.
I'm not married. I don't have any kids. The only thing I have is a dog, Diddy. So I have no legacy. So my legacy is my commitment to help aspiring entrepreneurs start, build, and run a business that'll take them to 7 figures. After that, then I can't help them after that. That's my forte.
Because you'll have these podcasts out there on YouTube that they can listen to later on down the road. So be proud of that. That's
right.
Awesome.
No, and that's what I'm saying. That's my legacy. So if I died tomorrow, know that you've got all these videos. They'll be out there, and I don't know what'll happen to the stuff, but I won't care because I'll be long gone.
Right.
But that's what I'm doing this for. I'm trying to create some sort of legacy. It's one reason why I wrote What Every Mover Needs book, is to highlight businesses like yours. Because when I started in 2008, the moving business originally, there was nothing out there. And the movers did not want to share their information. They were tight-lipped. they thought they knew it all, and they weren't going to share their secrets, which is there's no secrets. I
No,
mean,
there's no secrets. Well, and I tell some of them, like I have guys that'll come to me like, well, yeah, I asked so and so, but they said that they didn't remember. And I'm like, because they probably don't. I said, I'll be honest with you. I think when a trucker starts up or a moving company starts up, after they get it all done, they don't want to revisit all of that. You know, they don't, I told them they have business startup PTSD, you know, they don't want, they're like, no, I don't want to go through it again. So, or they don't even, it's just, there's this, that's what we're here for, right? Is to help them. So
right. Yeah, and that's why I got the book. So if they go to whatevermoverneeds.com, they can pick up the book. And literally I continuously update the book. So it's always, so if you buy the book, you get all complete updates over and over. I'll be adding your company to it, you know, as part of, you know, I won't put you as the insurance, but I will put you as, you know, authority person. So that now that they have you in the book, so there's no excuse now for not knowing who or what to go to, because there's so many people out there. And quite honestly, I created and established a niche online that now where people who are starting business, there's so many people and tutors and mentors out there that they can attach themselves to, that now that they won't be in a position like me where you had to figure out. Because when I first started my movements, I didn't know you needed to be licensed and insured. I didn't know.
right.
You know, I kind of suspected, to be completely frank, but I you know, it was what I don't know won't hurt me kind of, you know,
Right.
it's over there.
Right.
And so, you know, and then eventually you have to grow up. You have to, you know what I mean? And you know, there was a lot I did not know about licensing and stuff. And I learned a lot here today. There were some things I didn't know. So there's always things. So if you continue and you actually strive to better yourself, in my personal opinion, you'll create that business. If you're just starting a business and you really have no reason why you're starting a business other than your boss was a jerk and you think you're smarter than him, hint, you're not. You know,
Right.
you might be a great mover, but you're not a great business person. There's so much to the business you don't know.
No.
Fortunately, I had a lot of those aspects before I started my business, which gave me a little bit of a head start in that regard. But still, there was so much I needed to learn. And I needed to grow up, to be quite frank. You know, I was 35 years old, still kind of a young pup, still a little naive, and had a chip on my shoulder. And I had to grow up. So, you know, and I still have some of those qualities today. But the point being is you know, be willing to humble yourself, be willing to learn, go and get the resources that are available to you. And if it's a $200 service, but it's going to, that $200 book or that $200 mentor or that phone call can give you that one piece of advice that's going to take you to the next level. And how much is that worth to you? You know, that's going to last you
Absolutely
a lifetime. Oh, you had to pay $200 and that was a little bit more than you had to spend right now. Oh, boo-hoo, cry me a flipping river.
Right.
What you get out of it is immeasurable. It's priceless.
Right.
But you're worried about the $200 right now, and in 5 years, that's going to be pittance to you.
Yeah, you're not even going to blink an eye at it later on down the road. But no, it's just I don't know. It's just it's a hard business. I mean, being in household good moving and trucking, I mean, it is because it's so overregulated. It's insane. But if this is what you want to do and this is what your passion is, and you know you're going to give it 100% all, then what do you go for it? I mean, I tell, you know, one of the things that that I see that worries me a little bit with guys that start up that don't really have any cash saved up. I'm not saying that that's definitely a necessity, but I mean, it's a little bit of common sense, a little bit, you know, when you need to have a little bit of cushion in case let's say if the truck breaks down, you know, what are you going to do?
Mm-hmm.
So there's always a little bit of concern I have with people that don't have that little bit of cushion, but you know, sometimes they jump in and they don't have any problems and they're rolling, and then they're able to save and have the cushion later on down the road. But you know, there's a lot of things that you have to consider when you're doing this business, because your livelihood is dependent on those wheels, and you got to make sure that you take care of them.
Yep, exactly. Well, I'm going to let you go. We've
Okay.
been here over 2 years. 2 hours now. I'm getting hungry, and
Yeah,
I'm
I've got
fat,
to
so I
go.
got to eat.
We just had a new sofa delivered, so my phone's blowing up. So I'm sure I got to go check that out.
Right. So I'm going to let you go. I really do appreciate
You're
everything you
welcome.
did today. Thank you for coming on. I'm going to try to drive as much traffic to you as I possibly
I
can.
appreciate it. Thank you.
You know, and if you need anything from me, please reach out to me. I'll do what I can for you. Okay.
Okay. I appreciate it, Jay. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. You have a great day. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye-bye.